So there we are. I'm going to go ahead and mute folks. So we have a little bit of a background noise. But this is an open conversation. Jonas and AJ from POM Safety are going to tell us a little bit about what they are doing. But I want to thank you all for coming in and talking about safety. It's been on the forefront of our mind. Um, Certainly for the past year, we've had considerable activity in safety in New England. And thankfully, we have Jonas and AJ to step up to the plate. So, boys, if you'd like to take it away, I will let you do your presentation.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Jonas Fortenberry. I'm the VP Business Development here at POM Safe. Have been with the company for a few years, but have been in the post-acute world for a number of years, both on the technology side and actually as an administrator in home health and hospice in Northeast Ohio, which is where I'm located now. AJ, who you hear from in a few minutes, is our founder and CEO. And then we have a special treat, Dan Murphy, who's our Chief Technology and Product Officer, is going to be on and going to be walking through some of the system today. Appreciate the chance to be here and actually appreciate the fact that this is not one of those mega webinars where everyone is muted and no one gets to talk or has to comment or put something in the comments. So if there's a point where you have a question or just want to join in the conversation, which is one of the things we're going to kind of talk about, facilitating conversation at the beginning, really about why we're here and what we do, and then give you kind of an overview of the product. So I'm going to share my screen now and jump in. But like I said, at any point, if you've got something that you'd love to share or have a question to ask, put it in the chat or raise your hand or just speak up and tell me to shut my mouth, and I'll listen to you and we'll have a conversation. As is standard on all webinars, can everyone see my screen? Awesome. Well, again, thanks for everybody for being here. Like I said, Joe's from Palm Safe, and we are happy to be partners of the Alliance. And I've been a member of a number of organizations I've been at. And the Northeast and New England is actually very important to us. It's where we were born. It's where a lot of us live. Dan is in Massachusetts. AJ is in New Jersey. I'm actually sitting in New Jersey right now, which is where our offices are. So happy to be here, and thanks for joining. Just kind of a quick housekeeping to the goals and some of the things we're talking about today. Obviously, we're going to kind of talk about our product and solution and how it fits in home care, but really want to start with kind of just a conversation of caregiver safety and dive into kind of the nuanced challenges of why it's different and why it's important to have a conversation and have ultimately a solution that is built for and fits into specifically the post-acute home health care world. It's something that is in our mission, and AJ will talk about, but we are built specifically for home care, and it's kind of the nexus of everything we do. So we're going to kind of talk about that. I want to focus on three numbers to start and kind of drive from there, and how it informs the things that we do with our solution and how we support folks like you. We're going to talk about some of the things we talk about when we talk with partners, and what we say is, everyone we work with is truly a partner. We don't have customers. These are people that help us inform what we do next within the product. And it's all really focused on caregiver safety, which unfortunately, when I was an administrator back in my day, it was patient safety, patient safety, patient safety. And while that is super important, I regret not, having that mindset or thought, which a lot of our caregivers and nurses have, which is just, it's a part of the job. And it's really not. And you guys know that more than anybody, especially in New England, with the unfortunate incident that happened just over a year ago with Joyce Grayson, who's very important to us as well, and one of the reasons we're working with Alera in the Northeast now as well. So we'll talk about some of those things and the things we hear when we meet with folks, and then how that informs, like I said, what we do, and some of the things that you're going to see when Dan does the demo. And again, POM stands for peace of mind, and that's really what we try and do, is give peace of mind to everyone when they're walking into an unknown situation every day. First number I want to talk about is five times. You've probably seen this stat in a number of places. It shows up a lot of places, but that healthcare workers are 5 times more likely to experience workplace violence than any other industry. And that includes prison guards and police officers. And it's something that shouldn't happen. We see a lot, if you Google healthcare safety, the returns you're going to get more often than not are things within the 4 walls of a hospital. And most of the things you see out there are tailored to that. Hospitals, when they say healthcare, there's not a lot of new information out there, and there's not a lot of support. And it's something that just, as this number is evidenced by this number, is something that impacts. And it's probably likely less than this because, as you probably know, your caregivers are less likely to report things because, they're focused on patient care and want to make sure, patients get the care that they deserve. Second number is 77. 77%. That's the turnover rate for home health care. And that's compared to 47% across all industries. And of course, that can't all be attributed to the feeling of safety that for caregivers. But we know that that is tied to that number. And we know recruitment and retention in this industry is a challenge when there are a number of organizations that people can go to. When one of the reasons people come into this industry is for the flexibility that it provides and the passion people have for home care. And then you probably have seen recently the Transcend Strategy Group put out a number that said that 30% of caregivers don't feel that their employers support their safety, or they don't feel supported by their safety. So there is evidence of that shows that it is impactful, and it is a reason that people are leaving the industry. But at the same time, every month, the number one industry of growth, job growth, is healthcare. Last number was $100,000. This is the cost that can quite often be exceeded in what it costs to replace a nurse. And that's not just a dollar amount of, posting a job advertisement, but the efficiencies that you lose by getting a nurse to be up and productive and by themselves, working out in the field, to the patients that you're not able to take because you don't have the nursing and the staffing to provide that. And so when you think about, the benefit of being able to provide what we really view as kind of a benefit and a support.
What we are going to do now? Listen.
A benefit and to support to people in the field. This is what people really utilize a solution like this for, is to give people and make people feel comfortable and feel supported in the field in a place where they're more often than not going by themselves. Every day they're working by themselves. They're kind of solopreneurs in that sense, where they're managing their day, they're managing their visits, and they're managing their time and feel alone. I'll pause there and see if anybody has kind of any questions or has any kind of stories that they want to share around what they've seen, with your staffing, and if you've had any incidents or even just kind of what you do to help support. And it's okay if you don't.
People might have to just click on their little microphone icon and unmute themselves, but feel free to do that.
Okay, well, anytime, please just raise your hand or unmute if you have something. I'm going to turn it over to AJ now because it's important to tell kind of why we are here, where POM came from, and what we do, and everything kind of informs what we do as a company to support healthcare.
Thanks, Jonas. Thanks, everybody. Pleasure to be here and be speaking with you all. As Jonas just mentioned, it always is helpful, we find, to share why we do what we do and how we have evolved to be the company that we are today. So I'm the founder of POM. I started this company. Unfortunately, it was born out of a tragic incident. One of my best friends growing up was killed in this incident. He was walking home late one night with his girlfriend in Philadelphia. We're confronted by a group of guys on the street. Were robbed, and a physical fight broke out, and he was knocked unconscious. His girlfriend had a really difficult time getting in touch with 911 and ultimately getting first responders on scene. She dialed 911, sat on hold for a period of time, ended up running to the nearest cross street to explain where they were. And he passed away from his injuries. And we did an assessment on what had happened and learned a lot about the gaps that the current 911 system has, specifically not getting live GPS locations often. They were about 100 feet from a blue light pole. He was a grad student on campus, but they didn't see the pole or think to use it. So there were a number of failure points, and we realized there's got to be a smarter, more effective way of getting help in emergencies, and that's really where POM started. Focused on, emergency situations, how to get help, transfer data faster and more quality data to the right people. And we were serving many industries. We were in education and many others, trying to help all types of folks. We were pulled into healthcare shortly thereafter, really after COVID came and turnover spiked, and we were hearing all these stories, new articles were coming out, certain data was actually published around workplace violence in healthcare. And we just started seeing a lot of inbound interest in our solution for home care in particular. On top of that, my wife is, Jonas mentioned, our company is actually, whether it was intentional or not, but we're staffed with a lot of people that come from the home care industry. My wife was in home care. Jonas came from home care. Other teammates of ours were in healthcare or home care specifically. And it just became evident that there was a gap in that space as well when it came to protecting people in the field. I don't know if I can flip to the next slide, Jonas, but if you do, we made it a deliberate decision that we were going to focus in this space to be vertically focused on safety solutions for post-acute and community care workers. So the folks in the field, we think about those within the four walls of the hospital, and they have certain systems in place and resources. They have cameras at every corner and security staff on site. They have visitor management systems and lighting, and it's there is a focus there which is warranted. But as we got into the home healthcare space, we realized there wasn't many solutions tailored for home healthcare, and nor an emphasis on how to address what we consider some core questions. And that's where we focused our attention as we were designing this and really co-designing it with our partners. Jonas, if you could go to the next slide. So for us, we didn't start with let's figure out how to put a specific thing into the market. We wanted to help people answer these two questions. And as we asked these questions more and more, we were learning quite a bit about perspectives and current solutions that existed or lack thereof. So we help our clients answer, how do you ensure your people in the field are safe? And what do your people do when they feel unsafe? And we would hear a lot of feedback on this. In many cases, it was, they have phones. We do company issued phones, or we might do some, situational awareness training during new hire onboarding. There was some kind of different things that were put into place, but it felt like there was a deliberateness that was missing around it. We had heard risk assessments, patient lookup at intake, check in, check out, really more on the EVV side, but certain things that were in place, police escorts in certain cases, or doubling up nurse visits. And then, what happens if they need some help? They're either their alarm bells internally are going off, they feel uncomfortable, or some, immediate situation is happening, whether it's medical or otherwise. What happens then? And it's off, well, they have a phone, they can call 911, or they can call us, or we don't really do anything. Sometimes there was some pepper spray. We felt like there should be something that is more specifically tailored that helps address it holistically. And caregiver safety, for a lot of the reasons that Jonas had listed, it's too critical to rely on ad hoc solutions. And we have focused on building something that is not that, right? It is a end-to-end solution specifically tailored for the folks in the field. And not only about the incidents, but we've learned, and I'm sure you guys are becoming aware of some of the regulations that are happening, whether it's state by state. There's 9 states now that have enacted regulations for workplace violence plans for caregivers. OSHA is teed up to be providing regulations as well next year. So it is moving in a direction where this is becoming a little bit more need to have than it has been in the past. So for us, just quickly, and then I'll hand it off to Dan here shortly so he can just show you some of the things and on how we address it. This is how we help answer it. It really comes down to certain feature sets that, as I mentioned, are really co-designed. We have spent a lot of time just listening and understanding uniquely how your organizations work, the types of situations that go unaddressed now, and how we can best design solutions for them. For how to ensure that your people are safe, we do crime data and sex offender registry lookups. These are things that can be done at intake as you're doing, the other activities as patients come into your organization, looking up and scheduling, but also doing these, in the field as well, creating safety reports and pushing them down to the clinicians that are going to be doing care. Check on me's, which is, was really, we started working with Alara Caring earlier this year, and had learned some specific details on how that happened, the incident with Joyce, that is. And it was her first appointment of the day, and it wasn't until mid-afternoon that anyone realized she hadn't left that home. And so Check on Me is designed to reduce the amount of time from hours potentially that no one would know that they hadn't safely left, down to minutes or even seconds. So how do you ensure that your people are moving from appointment to appointment safely, going in and coming out safely? That's how we help address that. Mass notifications, how do you quickly communicate to your teammates if there is something they need to know, whether it's weather, emergencies, or other types of information that they should know about? How do you quickly communicate to all folks? We provide a mass notification capability. Safety reports, again, pushing, these crime data, sex offender registry reports to clinicians from intake or looking it up themselves, but also creating your own reports. So if there's a care team going into a particular residence and there's information that you either want to remind yourself or let other teammates know, you can create a report. It kind of looks like Waze, the navigation, maps app, where you can create things to let other people know, hey, look, there's an aggressive dog here, or, you have to park around the back and the entrance is not the front door, or signs of substance abuse or weapons. Live locations and geofencing. So that's all, how to ensure people in the field are safe. And then what do they do when they feel unsafe? And this is really a lot of what folks think of POM Safe as, is the emergency calling capabilities. We enable that several different ways. So there are flexible ways to access the dispatch services, the monitoring services. There's the mobile app, and we'll show you guys all of this working here in a minute. But the mobile app, which can live on the phones, company phones, personal phones, tablets that go into the home. One of our POM Safe devices. Next year, we'll have smartwatch integrations as well. So it's designed to be able to fit the preferences of your caregivers. There's silent call, if you want to kind of make that a silent emergency call. There's voice activation, hands-free. If you can't get to a device to activate it, you can do it using, Google or Siri. We use our dispatch, white glove dispatch services. We don't go directly to 911. We have a service that really is, tailored and able to be customized and gets a ton more information than a 911 dispatch center would. How do you get out of a call, or rather, how do you get out of a home? Maybe you don't need the cavalry called, but you need a good reason to remove yourself from a situation. That's where the fake phone call comes in. And then also de-escalation training. So through our partners, we provide different types of training exercises for your teammates. So they are educated and confident, to remove themselves and to be noticing things that they should ahead of time. Again, just designed with giving them confidence so they can focus on care, and not, be well prepared for any situation. I'll just pause for a second in case if anybody has anything, but assuming not, then this, just right before we get into what we're about to show you, I want to tell you a little bit about it. There's really three components to our solution. There's the admin dashboard. This helps manage your safety protocols, respond proactively. It gives reporting capabilities, different dashboards you can leverage to understand where your teammates are, if you need to message out to all or certain ones with mass notifications, see alert types, set up workflows. That's all done within the admin dashboard. There's the mobile app that allows the field team to access the features as well as emergency services. All of the capabilities within the mobile app are also ported over to the device itself. So there's the POM Safe device. It's an optional device that, you know, certain teammates will leverage, whether it's folks that have behavioral health patients, or are going into high risk areas. Maybe they're newer into the healthcare industry and have a different level of concern over their own safety. There's folks that gravitate to the device, others that leverage the app and the admin portal. So just, you know, foundationally, that's what our solution looks like. Any questions so far?
Now you want to see some of it. Thanks, AJ. So I'm going to turn it over here to Dan shortly. So some of the scenarios he'll talk to is some of those real world things about, again, those questions we answer and what scenarios, and we talk about pre-visit, during visit, and post-visit, and how we really think about this as a solution and an ecosystem to fit into your protocols. And it's okay if you don't have some. And that's one of some of the things we learned too is, hey, we don't really do this now, but this is kind of the way we do it. How could POM fit in there, and how could we build that into, our ecosystem of safety as you build that out? So I'll turn it over to Dan, who focuses his team on this, and specifically this for home healthcare. And as you see some of this, would love, again, if you have a question or say, hey, what about this? It's one of the things that intrigued me about the organization when I met AJ, which was, hey, could it do this, or could we use it in this way? And more often than not, the answer is yes. Or tell me more about what you're solving and working towards. And then we build that in, because again, our main focus and our mission is to put peace of mind in everyone's hands, and specifically to support your caregivers in post-acute home healthcare. So I will take it away, Dan.
All right, one moment here. I'm gonna prepare my screen. Okay. Share. All right, I'm gonna minimize this. Everybody can see my screen okay?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, AJ. All right, so if you're looking at my screen, you can see there's two sides here. There's on the left, this is my mobile phone itself. So you can see what I've done here is I've just clicked on the POM Safe app. So that's the mobile app that the clinician or caregiver would download in order to use the POM Safe system. And then on the right-hand side here, we have our web app. And this is where admins or team leads, I kind of generally say people who are responsible for the caregivers would generally be using the web app here on the right-hand side. So I'm going to start by taking you through the experience from the mobile app and the caregiver's experience. And then after that, I'll talk a little bit more about what you're seeing here on the right, on the web app. Okay, so what we would generally say is like a day in the life of a caregiver is, I'm going to start my day. I've got some appointments I need to go to. One of the first things I can do is when I open the app, I can search an address that I'm going to visit. So I can say 16 Temple Place, Boston, for example, and I can say I want to check this location by running a safety report in the system. And I'm going to go ahead and do that before I visit. The system is going to check that address and the surrounding area. So what I can see now is this address that I'm heading to, there is a sex offender registered at that location. There's 99 within 3 miles. And based on a source that we use called Crimeometer, it has a moderate crime rating, 56 out of 100. And you can see that falls into like a mid-range. Since I'm going to this location, I'm going to click view here and I want to see who is this person at this location. And, I can get the basic information about that particular offender at that location. I can close this now and I can recall that same thing when I arrive at the address. Any questions on the safety report there. And if not, I'll keep going. So now I'm gonna, I'm on my way to my appointment. And as I pull up to the appointment, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start what we call a check on me. And this is a feature I can use. I'm going into a location that I feel a little bit of an elevated concern about. So I want to make sure that if anything should happen while I'm in this appointment, someone will reach out to me or notify the authorities that I need help. So what check on me is just simply that. I can set a timer. You can see by default it's 15 minutes. I can set this timer now, and I can go into my appointment, which I'm expecting shouldn't take more than 15 minutes. And what happens now is, as I go into this address, should anything happen to me where I don't check out or hit this checkout button that you see here, this will alert my team lead or supervisor or system administrator of the POM system itself. And that can escalate directly to our 24/7 dispatch center as well. So I'm going to go ahead and click checkout. And that's all I would normally need to do as a caregiver as I leave the appointment, is just check out by clicking that button there.
The only thing I'll add here, Dan,
Go ahead.
is you're seeing from the mobile app side, which is caregivers leveraging the mobile app. What you would be able to do as well at intake is do the same types of safety report lookups. So you could look at, as you're collecting information about patient visits and, in some cases doing background checks or just, doing some, early assessment type stuff on the patient and on the visit, you can also run safety reports there. You would see that same sex offender lookup as well as crime score. And what we've seen, the question becomes, what do you do with the crime score? And we've seen folks create policy around it. So where if the crime score is over 70, let's say, that automatically is pushed to the clinician doing care, and that would be a check on me visit. So no matter what, they'd have to do a check on me for, certain visits that have met that threshold. Or if the crime score is 59, like Dan just showed, but there is a sex offender that lives in the home, that's automatically deemed to be a check on me visit. So you can kind of create some internal protocols based on these reports, and it could be done at at intake and pushed down to clinicians that way.
I have a
Thanks,
quick
Ed.
question, excuse me. So, the home screen on the phone, so is this like an overlay on the home screen? The three icons and the slide to start SOS is an overlay on the normal home screen?
Oh, no, this is our app itself. So
Okay,
this is,
sorry, if you said that, I had a phone call, so I apologize.
no worries. Yeah, it's just our app. So I clicked on our app and brought it up. And, when you're not, using the app or you're at an appointment, you could just keep it in the background like that. And that's how we recommend, is that they just keep it running in the background when, you're just going about your day. And then you can close it at the end of your day. Open it at the beginning, close it at the end.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Good question. Thank you. So going back to the check on me, so the check on me was developed in partnership with AleraCaring based on that tragic incident. And I want to mention that simply because it's driven a certain amount of legislation to go forward in Connecticut, where some of these features are now required or soon to be required as part of some of the OSHA changes and some of the regulation changes in the state of Connecticut. And we see this as a growing trend and a growing concern is, lone worker safety in every profession, but in specific in the home health, it deems another level of risk and another level of innovation and thought. So the idea behind the check on me is simply that you want to know that your caregivers are getting in and out of their appointment safely, no matter what. And this gives you that ability, as AJ was saying, to implement processes that ensure that using the software, and we can work with you to make that implementation and rollout really straightforward and simple. So there's a few other features here. You did mention the slide to start SOS. Before we get to the SOS, you see there's this fake phone call. So another scenario might be that I'm approaching a place that I come to all the time. But one of the challenges, sometimes I get stuck there talking to the person and I just want my phone to ring in 10 minutes. So I can set this up to say, just call me in 10 minutes and I can swipe this down. And 10 minutes from now, I'll receive a phone call, from our system, just, with a recording that I can say, excuse me, I have to take this, and I can step away. So we refer to that as a de-escalation feature that, you can use to get out of situations that you might predict might be awkward, but you're not necessarily using a check on me, and it's not necessarily, I want to start an SOS or create an alert or anything.
And this is something that it gives the recording prompts conversation. So in case you are feeling uncomfortable, not sure what to say, it's actually kind of asking you questions. You can put it on speaker. We train to, and actually the system prompts you to save it as a favorite, and you can save it as whatever you want to save it as. I have it as a child's school. And so that if someone does see something calling you, it can feel like it is a legitimate phone call, and again, follow those prompts. So in case you are uncomfortable or not sure what to do, you just answer the questions and get yourself outside.
That's right. And I'll demonstrate that in a moment so you can see it as well. So another thing AJ mentioned was, what do you do if you see something that's of a concern? So, we say, like, if you see something, say something. So in the system itself, you can see now I've got this last report I ran was that 16 Temple Street report, but there's also this vicious dog at home, which is nearby. It's within 0.3 miles of my location. And so somebody had reported that at that particular address, my address where I'm at now, there's a vicious dog there. And so I know now before I walk in that that's the case. Now, if I see something myself that I'm concerned about, I can click the report here and I can provide a high level, is this a caution? Is this dangerous? I can give it some title and description for others to see and then post that report to the system. And that report would show up if anybody were to come back to this address and check the address the same way. Are there any reports? They would see that in this space here, as well as AJ mentioned at the intake, reports can be created and pushed down. So when I get to the location, I can be notified, hey, there's a report you should take a look at before you go in. Whew, I said a lot about reporting there. Any questions on that? Any thoughts around reporting? If not, I'll keep moving on here. So we mentioned the swipe to start SOS. So that is a feature right from the app. I can come in and I can do that. I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. I can also start an SOS through voice activation. I can say to my phone, hey Siri, call POM Safe Help.
Calling POM Safe Help mobile.
Now, what this will do is this will start an SOS in our system.
Line.
It'll take a moment.
Connecting alert to dispatch service.
So you can see now in the web app
to the monitoring center
that there is an alert going off for me. And you can see on the phone here, you can hear that I'm going to be connected. So you'll hear my conversation real quick with the dispatch service. And this is ringing into our 24/7 dispatch service.
Hello, this is Anthony with POM Safe on a recorded line. Dan, do you need any help or medical assistance?
I do not. I'm just testing my device.
Okay. All right, I'll put you down as testing, no worries. And may I have your safe word or passcode?
My safe word is POM Safe.
Thank you, that is correct. Alrighty, Dan. And are you at 100 Woodview Way?
I am, yes.
All right, perfect. We'll go ahead and put it in for testing. As long as everything is okay for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Bye-bye now.
You're welcome. Have a good day. Take care. Bye-bye.
And it's as simple as that to set off my alert. So I can do that, I can start that via the sliding that button there at the bottom, or I could just do it voice activated hands-free. If I had a watch that was also either connected to my phone or cellular with the same calling ability, you could do the same thing through your watch.
One thing to note here that I think is pretty important and is actually unique to POM is that voice activation you notice went through as a phone call, but they still had all of the profile information, the location information. So it is not just sending as a phone call, it is actually pulling through to your profile and having all that information too. So where someone could say, hey, can I just say, hey, call 911? It's just doing that as a phone call. This adds another layer there to tie to your profile so that it pulls all of the information too, throws it to the back office as well so they can see that and mark that as an incident and use that for incident reporting. So as I said, all tied together versus just a phone call.
Yeah, and if I click down into the alert details, which I'll get into in a moment, show a little bit more on the web app itself, but it allows me to drill in and see those alerts and actually just got resolved. So come in here. So it allows me to see this information about the alert as well. So we'll come back to the dashboard in a moment. Let me wrap up over here on the mobile phone itself. So you can see at the bottom, there's a few other buttons. There's a help, which the caregiver, if at any time, can get the information of how to get help, as well as a live chat with our support team. And then at the other side is this profile button. When I click that, that allows me to do some light configurations for myself. The most important one is the ability to add connections, which these can be family, friends, coworkers, but these are people who will also receive notifications when your alerts go off. So oftentimes people want to add some personal connections in there, so others are notified as well. And then finally, you can see there's a POM mobile menu, and that's because I have my POM mobile device, which you can see in my hand as well. I'm trying to show my camera here, connected to my phone. I've added this to my profile, and this allows me to trigger the same features that you saw from the phone app. I can trigger right from my POM mobile. And we refer to it as a POM mobile because although it does connect Bluetooth to your phone, if your phone is left in the car, if it's not connected, this has its own cellular and can make its own phone calls and can still get the data out and know who you are and grab your profile the same way Jonas mentioned. Some subtle difference is with this in my hand, I can hold the button down for a few seconds and I can initiate a fake phone call right to my phone. So that's what I just did. And so that's like a real time. I'm standing there and I just want to get out of this conversation. So I did that. And this is the recording I get.
This is busy, but do you have a couple minutes to talk?
Yeah, just give me a moment. I got to step away from what I'm doing.
Yeah, I have an update on what we were talking about.
So I'm going to hang up. And that's the fake phone call. So I can schedule it with the app to occur in a period of time, or I can trigger it directly right from my device. I
would abuse that feature.
What's that?
I'm positive I would abuse that feature.
Yeah.
I would have it all the time. Oh my gosh.
I mean, is that, yeah, that's great. It's affirmation of, I think we hear this a lot, is it's a very helpful tool to have in your tool bag.
From chatty.
Yeah, good. The other thing you can do is you can double click. If I do 2 clicks on this button, 1, 2, that can start my check on me. So if I'm just hands-free, like I don't want to take my phone out or do anything, I can just double click before I go into my appointment. And when I'm done, I can double click again and I can check out of my appointment. So I can do the same thing I can do from the phone, I can do from the device. And then lastly, if I triple click, which I'm not going to do again, so I don't want to get on the phone with them again, but that would start a SOS call to our rapid response center, and that would show up on the map the same way that you saw it earlier.
In that instance, Dan, you'd communicate through the device because it's got speaker microphone built in versus having to have that phone right beside you.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about that as well. There's a little added sort of it's a sort of a benefit that's not obvious to us, but we use our own cellular network, or I shouldn't say it's our own, but we're on a different cell network than what your phone would be on. It's specifically for devices like this. And it runs on a lower bandwidth. It allows us to get either voice or data connections at much lower bandwidth than what you could get normally on your cell phone. So it provides a redundancy to getting the data and the voice connections out. but both will try when we set off a trigger. So we'll always try. If we can't connect with you here, we'll try to connect with you on the phone. And if we can't get either, we're just going to send the authorities to where your device or phone is, or both. All right, with that, I'll pause. And any questions on the app or the device?
So my question is on the monitoring map and the console, is there a designated person do you designate a person who would get an alert if something was going on? Because obviously they're not watching this all day. How does that work?
Fantastic question. Yeah, so the way our system is set up is you can configure it in a lot of different ways. A very typical configuration is there's 1 or 2 people who get assigned to monitor the users of the system. Depending on how large the organization is, that might be per site or per region. But it's usually 1 or 2 people, and you add them as users. We call them system users here. And you can see that some people have a designation of admin and some say team leader. And so the differentiation there is an administrator in the system can change some of the configurations and do a few things that team leads can't do. And if you're a team leader, when you log into the system, you see your team and your team's information. You don't see the whole organization. So depending on how your organization wants to configure the system, you can use all of those features as part of this admin console. So generally what we'd say is you want 1 or 2 people who would be assigned to be monitoring, and they can choose how they want to be notified. You can leave this dispatch open at all times, and you'll be notified through this window, both audibly and visibly. You can also receive alerts via email, text, or phone call from the system when an alert goes off.
But
Thank
it can be as integrated as you want it to be as well, Jamie. So if you don't have the FTs or don't, like you mentioned, not someone always monitoring, it can always, and this is why we work within your protocols, and part of the discovery you do with understanding your systems, is everything can always go straight to our dispatch.
Yes.
And then you're just utilizing this dashboard for a postmortem to do incident reporting, to pull a report out for your monthly safety meeting to see how many fake phone calls or how many check on me's, or to trigger to say, hey, Nurse Leahy, I noticed this. Do you want to, do we need to do an incident report? So someone doesn't have to be sitting at a computer screen monitoring this all the time. It's just based on how you work and how your different agencies and folks work within that.
Got it.
Yep. Better said. Any other questions? So a real quick overview of the web administration app here. We have the dashboard, which you could see when I zoom out, you can see all the devices in our system. And you can click down into them, or you can see any alerts. So if there was an active alert, you saw a red dot show up. Or are there any reports? These are those incident reports that we were showing that people created in the app. So you can kind of filter down to any of those 3 types of bullets you'll see on the screen. You can also see all the users in the system. Is their mobile app open or closed? When was the last time we got a ping from it? And what version of our software are we running? So that allows us to better manage and support your users by having that information. We can also see, because some users, as AJ said, will oftentimes just have a mobile app. You don't always have a 1-for-1 of devices. So we have a separate tab here, which can show you all the devices, who's been assigned. And if your organization has a pool of devices, which you might be assigning and unassigning as people come and go from the org, you might have some leftover devices that you give to somebody and then they become assigned when they take ownership. In the message center, this was something Jonas and AJ, I think, both talked about a little bit. You can schedule messages to go out to your teams. You can send them immediately. You can send them to just groups of people or individuals or everyone all at once. But it allows you to send SMS messages to the whole team that's got the app registered on their phones. As we mentioned earlier, you can also see all the alerts that have happened. You can see that the check on me's, when you click on them, you can see when they started, when they were resolved. That's the check-in and check-out times and where they had occurred. Any SOSs are the same. You'll get some information, depending on the calls, you'll get somewhat different populated information in these windows. Furthermore, the reports that we talked about that can be created. And then we didn't talk a lot about this, but we also have this concept of appointments in our system where we can integrate with your system to pull appointments in, or you can use our system to create appointments. And this just allows the caregivers to have additional information that has been collected about where they're going. And so if there is an SOS that occurs at that time, that appointment information will be included to our team so that we know, and they were supposed to be at this place at this time as well. At the bottom here are
And
more.
Felicia raised her hand.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Thank you, AJ.
Felicia, did you have a question? Oh, yes.
I
Go ahead.
know what, maybe I raised my hand at the wrong time. I'm listening to all of this. I am a registered nurse and I've worked in home care and the hospital setting, and I'm just overwhelmed with all of this information that has been needed a long time ago. So maybe I didn't raise my hand at the right time. And I wanted to just share about the clinical view. So as I'm taking all of this in, I am reflecting on the inpatient setting and the patients that we have in the home. And I'm not sure if they really know what we deal with as nurses. So in the home, we're by ourselves, right? And we're dealing with the brain injury patient, the altered mental status, whether it's dementia, Alzheimer's with agitation, not to mention the patients that have the PTSD and actively hearing voices, even when they're on medication. So and I know one of my personal experiences that we had a patient. I mean, they have the leg brace on and we don't even know until they sit down, or if there's something really, really going on with the patient. I remember speaking to a psychiatrist. This man had a remarkable history, but the psychiatrist could not fill me in because of HIPAA and confidentiality. So great job to you guys as I'm listening in. And like I said, I apologize that I probably raised my hand not at the best time as he was reviewing all of this, but thank you. This is very, very helpful, and I'm all in. I'm all in. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. I mean, it means a lot to hear that. We had heard it shocked us, we've had some kind of adjacent experience with home care, but as you hear the stories, like the ones that you're sharing, it just sticks with you. I remember hearing one. We work with Penn Medicine in Philadelphia, and they've got it for their home care team as well. They had come to us after an incident where a caregiver walked into the home. Shortly thereafter, the patient pushed his piano in front of the only exit to the apartment and made her sit and listen to songs that he wrote for her for like an hour, and, she's sitting there terrified, not sure what to do. If you had a if you had tools, there could have been a frictionless way to remove yourself or at least let other people know that you're in a situation. You could activate the call silently. You'd have plenty of, potential options. And it just, we've heard where clinicians go in, they think that they're one-on-one with a patient. 10 minutes in, they start hearing footsteps upstairs. It's an adult child of the patient who has, their own, set of issues, and they're doing, things that make them feel uncomfortable, and you're by yourself. So, hearing for us, client intimacy, once we decided, and it was probably about a year and a half ago, that home healthcare was going to be where we focused. Spending the time, with those folks to understand exactly what you're going through and the types of solutions that you gravitate towards has been invaluable. So we appreciate what you're saying. We're glad that we're, putting out something that resonates. And our goal is to continue to make it even better and better and better. So, but it does touch our heart a little bit to hear your positive feedback on it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say there's no bad time to give that feedback. You can pause at any time.
Yeah.
This is great. So the rest of this is mostly pretty straightforward admin stuff. I mentioned teams. You can organize, the users of the system into any grouping that you want. So regional, again, by locations, offices, or by specific groups and teams. We can also work with you to import those from your systems and integrate.
Well, actually, so Dan, I'm just the one other point, I kind of dovetailing from what we were just talking about, what Felicia says, like folks do really kind of resonate with the product and the service and the feature set, and ultimately when it's rolled out or introduced to the caregivers, they're excited too. Like there's a lot of kind of goodwill that's built as rolling this out. So the thing that we feel like rounds out the whole experience with our company is the implementation. Right. It's like, so this is great and we like what we're seeing and we think this is a fit for us, but what does it look like to actually roll it out? And keeping in line with our value of simplicity, rolling this out can be done. We've done it many, many times, so we know where the points to focus on to make it go really quick, but it can be done in a day. It could be done in a week. It's something
it's really very minimal work.
Yeah.
Takes to launch this and to get this going, and especially, with the app, we've designed the app to be, onboarded in less than 5 minutes with really mostly just self-help. You can just get yourself up and running. It's pretty straightforward.
So the good
I'm
news
gonna-
is
yeah.
Palm Safe is a member of the Alliance, and I don't want to get their date wrong, but through December and maybe January,
February.
you get a discount. Members of the Alliance get a discount when they sign on to Palm Safe. So I'll just throw that out there. And I don't remember the details. Jonas, can you help me out?
I can. It's 50% off devices and 25% off of services and software.
Through January? I feel like it was
Through February.
February. There you go. Even better. That'll be in a follow-up email too.
Yeah, there'll be a follow-up email. So we'll pause for any questions, but also want to reference a couple of things that, that again, as we focus on healthcare and as AJ mentioned, the services we provide, we're also, you can go to our website and we've got a couple tip sheets that you can download and use for your staff, just specifically around visit safety. So thinking about pre-visit, during visit, and post-visit. That you can share if you're looking for some materials, as well as just some other guides. And then we are also working on some webinars to be able to use that you can join live that we'll put here through the Alliance, or be able to even download to share with your staff. Felicia, I think you kind of mentioned one, just specifically thinking about the types of patients you see and being aware of some of the things that you can come across based on diagnosis or based on situation. And so stay tuned for that, and go, like I said, you can go to our website and sign up for those things and get on the mailing list to see those. If you'd like to have your team see more of this, or you want to kind of customize demo, I'd love to have a conversation with you just about what you're currently doing now or what you're looking to build. And how we can support that. Really, like I said, everything we do is focused on that kind of process and a workflow, from starting at intake to the assessments you can do on the web portal and integrate into those things, to pushing out to caregivers in the field and supporting them. And as we train and onboard you, how we fit into those specific places, and continuous training of that. Everyone has a dedicated customer success rep that works with them and their leadership to continually kind of train and support ways to use this system to ultimately provide peace of mind and make people feel better about being out there and doing the things they do, which we just respect and appreciate so much. And we'd love any feedback that you have, after this. If you just saw this and said, hey, I thought about this, idea, shoot it to Leslie if you want to, or just shoot it to me too. I'm Jonas at POMsafe.com, and love to talk to you. We'll be in New England. We join all the conferences that we can in that area. And we are here for that. We're not just going to pop up a booth and hope we can grab some sales out of this and walk away. This is truly what we are doing, what we do, and what we support. We already have other organizations across Massachusetts, and they inform a lot and are part of our advisory boards as well, and the things we do as we build out and continue to support you guys. So open to any questions, but otherwise, really thank you guys for your time and appreciate you, one, letting us be a part of this community, and two, just being here to support you and listen. So thank you.
Thank you. Oh,
Jamie?
Yeah, I just have a quick question. Do you have a minimum amount of users as it is, or is it based on like a tiered system of users? If you could briefly tell me that, that would be great.
So not really. Generally, it's a kind of a tier. Generally, around 20 is what we see in terms of minimums of devices. But we recognize there are some smaller organizations out there that don't have as many, and we kind of try and build to that. Because we know there's, singular sourced, systems, and then there's greater ones like AJ mentioned, Penn Medicine, and a lot of these that we work with. So we don't really work with, we'll call a minimum, basically kind of bands in that lower level of kind of an up to a certain number of licenses. And that's quite often what we see is people will do the licenses and then say, but maybe we only need 4 or 5 devices based on this because of our, we have 20 nurses, or we want to give it to all of our staff, because this is something that they can use outside of the office hours too. You could add contacts that, are mom, dad, boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, that they get alerted if you do some, if you, do a fake phone call or check on me. So if, it doesn't have to be within the hours of your work. And that's, again, what I mentioned, this being a benefit to employees and your staff too, is something they can use with them at all times. And so we quite often see people giving it to all employees, even the ones that work mostly in the office, so that they, support everyone.
Thank you.
Well,
It
again,
is
thank you
recorded,
again.
so I will send the recording out to everybody, and you can share that with your staff too.
Perfect. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you for putting this together. And I think Tim is still on the call. So thank you, Tim, as well. And thank you all for joining. And again, we look forward to talking with you and look forward to seeing you in person when we're back up there again.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.